making this video to expose Mikayla Kooper. So Mikayla Kooper is a false teacher on YouTube who preaches work salvation. She adds works to the gospel, and even if you add one work to the gospel, that makes it a false gospel, and a false gospel leads souls to hell. Matthew 7 verse 15. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves.
We won't even have that desire to sin. That temptation will still be there, but sin makes us sick now. If you're a new creature, born of God, transformed, the Holy Spirit within you, then you're not going to be led by the flesh, you're led by the Spirit, so sin isn't appealing to you anymore. It makes you sick if you've been truly born of God.
Alright guys, as you heard, Mikayla Kooper said that if you're truly born again, you'll hate sin. But this is nothing more than a false gospel, because this is adding works to the gospel, saying that if you hate sin, then you're saved, and if you don't hate sin, then you're not saved. And salvation isn't based on what we do, it's based on what Jesus did on the cross for us. No works. Ephesians 2 verse 8 to 9. For by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. It says not of ourselves, not of ourselves, not of works. Works is something we do. So if salvation is not of ourselves, why is Mikayla Kooper saying that if you hate sin, you're truly born again? I'll tell you why. Because she's nothing more than a stupid works truster who isn't trusting in Jesus, and she's serving Satan because she preaches a false gospel, and that deceives people and that leads people to hell. We have to understand that a false gospel is no joke. A false gospel leads people to hell. Romans 11 verse 6. And if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise work is no more work. So can't be both grace and works. And salvation is 100% grace. Salvation is of grace and not of works. So saying that salvation is grace plus works contradicts the Bible. So you're saying that Jesus and you can save yourself, and the sinner can't save the sinner. We're all sinners, guys. Romans 3 verse 20. Therefore by the deeds of the law there shall no flesh be justified in his sight, for by the law is the knowledge of sin. So the law is the knowledge of sin. And what's a deed of the law? A deed of the law is, for example, following the law, obeying the law of thou shalt not steal. If you don't steal, then you're obeying the law of thou shalt not steal. You're doing a deed of the law. And no one's gonna be justified by deeds of the law. Romans 4 verse 5. But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. So it says, to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly. So there's many Bible verses that say salvation is of grace and not of works. But you still have false prophets like Mikayla Kooper deceiving people. Matthew 11 verse 30. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So salvation is easy, guys. If you had to hate sin to be saved, then salvation would be hard and not easy. And if salvation is hard, then it's work salvation. Galatians 5 verse 4. Christ is become of no effect unto you. Whosoever of you are justified by the law, ye are fallen from grace. So, a lot of people like to copy and paste this verse in my comments. But this is talking about people who are trusting in their works, saying that they have no grace because they're trusting in their works, not trusting in Jesus. So that's why Jesus is no effect unto these people. Galatians 2 verse 21. I do not frustrate the grace of God, for if righteousness come by the law, then Christ is dead by vain. If we were saved by the law, then Christ died in vain. Or if we are saved by our works, then Christ died in vain. Anything we do is works, and salvation is not of works, it's of grace. Salvation is what Jesus did on the cross for us. It's his sacrifice on the cross. It's his shedding of blood, not our filthy rags, not our works. Galatians 1 verse 7, which is not another, but they be some that trouble you, and will pervert the gospel of Christ. So Mikayla Kooper perverts the gospel of Christ by saying that if you're truly born again, you'll hate sin. So what he's essentially saying is that to be saved, you have to hate sin. And that's not the gospel. So she's a pervert of the gospel. And the secret to being born again is to believe in Jesus, to trust in Jesus alone, no works. Matthew 23 verse 13. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. So Mikayla Kooper is a Pharisee who shuts up the kingdom of heaven by saying that you have to hate sin to be saved. Saying that if you're truly born again, you'll hate sin. She's a hypocrite. And this is Jesus talking. Jesus wasn't nice to the Pharisees. He harshly rebuked them. Luke 6 verse 26. Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophets. It's all the popular one, guys. All the popular prophets are the ones who are preaching work salvation and damning souls to hell. Galatians 1 verse 8 to 9. But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that ye have preached unto you, let him be accursed. As we said before, so I say now again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you than that ye have received, let him be accursed. So Mikayla Kooper preaches a different gospel, so let her be accursed.